Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. How's it going, Greg?
Hey, I'm doing great and looking forward to a discussion here on adapting and exciting to hear what you have to say. And I'll try to throw in a few things as well.
All right, cool. So we're kind of following up on last week's Adapt part two. So we were in the company meeting, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
3 weeks ago, maybe. And we talked about what it means to adapt. You did a whole little session on that. Last week, we talked a bit more about adapting. And we're just going to continue talking about this topic because, well, for one, I think being adaptable is really a mindset and it's a stance versus an activity. I think maybe adapting is more of a mindset when you approach your day and you approach your surroundings. And if you don't feel like you're very adaptable, think about that. Think about ways you can become more adaptable and think about ways you can be more flexible. But so let's talk about being adaptable in real estate real quick. So I was looking at numbers. We did a company meeting. We had a little staff meeting a couple of days ago, and I pulled some stats, and I want to share with you guys what I saw. So I pulled just all of Flex MLS, which is a huge chunk of Michigan. It goes from up north, down south, over to Kalamazoo, down to Jackson. So it's a big swath of Michigan. And while we know that every single market is unique and every market has its own pace, I'm just looking for a big swath to look at, like what's happening on a macro scale. Like what are the large indicators that are happening here? So I looked at the 12 months, the most recent 12 months versus the previous 12 months year to date. And so from today, a year back versus the previous year, we are down 10% almost on the dot. I'm going to pull my notes up here because I pulled them the other day. So I was like, okay, so there's a 10-month change there from October of 20 to 21 versus 21 to where we are now. There was a 10% change. Then I was like, let's shorten that down to a 4-month. And if you look at a 4-month comparison from October 3 back to June 1 of the past 4 months versus the previous year at the same time frame, it was a 13-month change, meaning we sold 13% less sales as a giant industry. We're down 13% in sales volume or sales transaction count. Then I looked at the last 2 months. So just August and September versus the previous August and September. And this most recent August and September, we're down 16%. So you see where we're heading here, right? It's gotten a little more dramatic as we shorten the time frame. And then I looked at just September of 21 versus September of 22, and there was a 22% decrease this September versus last September. So that's pretty serious. We're nearing a quarter down by almost a full quarter. So you can see that what's happening with the market is the change in pace of how things are selling and the number of sales are taking place. It's actually speeding up. So if you take it on an average of 12 months, it looks like 10%. But as you shorten that window, when interest rates started skyrocketing and all these things were going crazy, you see that we're actually speeding the rate of the change most recently here at 22% last month. So I thought that was pretty shocking actually to see the actual difference between this past September and the last one. So
let me jump in here, Paul. So my favorite author, favorite trainer, as probably all of you know by now, is Larry Kendall at Ninja Selling. Mm-hmm. And he sends out, several times a week, an action tip. And any one of you can just go to Ninja Weekly Action Tip, sign up and receive these free thoughts that come from Larry Kendall. The one I saw the other day is he had written out, he says, remember the book title from the Ninja installation? And for those that have gone through Ninja, it's Differentiate or Die. And the last 2 years were like no market that we've ever seen. And the byproduct of that is that it made all of us kind of complacent, especially in executing the key skills that are needed to survive in this industry. The market was so active that we became totally reactive. And we didn't have to do many of the normal habits to be successful because there was so much low-hanging fruit. But now it's an opportunity for thinking agents to differentiate. And one of the core ninja strategies is to position yourself as the source of all real estate. So everybody you know should look to you for their source as with anything real estate. And how do you position yourself to be that source? And so I'm not going to go through, I'm not going to share this video here right now, but if you went to Ninja Weekly Action Tip, the Ninja Nation, you will be able to sign up and you can see all these videos, but he outlines what it looks like at a very tactical level. The one thing that he talked about this past week was knowing your market. I have talked about this exhaustively over the months, about separating yourself out. And, you know, if you immerse yourself in this, it doesn't come out robotic, mechanical. It just comes out as conversation. And you have to conversationally be able to outsource all of your peers. And people will look to you then, and they will seek you out when they have a question about real estate, because you have been valuable. You have provided valuable information. And so when you think about it, knowing your market is just one aspect of differentiating or die.
Well, now more than, while we talk about that really quickly, now more than ever, right? People have always said to you, oh, it must be a good time to be in real estate, right? How many years have we heard that one? Where, oh, it must be good in real estate. You hear all your clients are always saying, must be a good time to be in real estate. Well, we've known for the past few years that it's not been that great because it's been kind of feast or famine out there. There's not a lot of listings. But now with the inflation and interest rates that are skyrocketing, your clients are going to be more curious than ever, don't you think, Greg, on what's going on? How's that impacting real estate?
Oh, I think whenever there's massive change, there's a shock. And I think people want reassurance that, you know, the world's not over.
But their minds are ripe at this moment, don't you think?
Yep,
like
absolutely.
To have that conversation, because every one of us are kind of shocked by what we're seeing.
Yep, correct. So adapt. And this should just, you should wake up in the morning thinking about adapting. You should go to sleep at night thinking about adapting. And what does that mean? And what does it look like? So the other area that I think that all of us are going to have to adapt is, how do we talk to sellers who want the price that was the price 2 months ago or 4 months ago or 6 months ago? And you are, in theory, the bad news bears, and you've got really nothing good to say, but yet somehow it's not your responsibility, is it? You didn't do this. And so I don't understand why any agent has to have a guilt complex when they talk about this topic. And I think that you have to get really comfortable with it. And you know, one of the things that happens in this at this time is that people will say, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. So ask yourself, does that help right now? Does it change anything? Does that help them get to meet their goals? Does that help anybody? And the answer is no. There are some people that probably should wait. So it might work in some cases. So I don't want to say it never works. But for the most people, waiting is just a kind of like a way to get more time to think about it, to try to understand it. Well, okay, help them understand it. Share about what it means. And so to me right now, when I look at this and they're talking about the recession of 23, well, right now we're not really, we've seen some evidence of it in the numbers that Paul just talked about, but there's plenty of agents who aren't feeling it at all. And then there's others who are feeling it significantly. So it's like we got two worlds. There's some that are cruising, some are hurting. And so the question is, when you get your opportunity to sit with a seller, and remember now, there's only we're still only dealing in many markets with a 1 to 1.5, maybe a 2 month supply. So there's still not an abundance.
That's the strange thing, right? The strange thing is, even though our sales are decreasing, the pressure is still kind of there.
Yeah. Oh man. So buyers are still buying. I mean, I've been surprised at some of the sales numbers in the last month with these rates increasing. Apparently, what's happening is many buyers are going to adjustable rate mortgages, which for some people works fine. Others, it will potentially get them in trouble. And so hopefully, it's almost like I'd love to have our agents have the buyer sign something that says, I did not advise you to do this adjustable rate mortgage. I advised you against it. You, though, on your own volition, chose to do this so that if they do get in trouble 5-6 years down the road, you can pull this up and say, look it, man, I told you, I shared with you what I thought was good information. You chose to go this way, but that's not really why we're here today talking about that. I want to talk about how do you talk with a seller right now about pricing? And I think the number one thing that I would look at right now is I would draw some type of a graph or a chart. And I'd show them that, if we drop, let's say we drop, prices drop 10% in a year. Well, they don't do it on January 1, do they? They do it gradually. So it's kind of like this where we've had the chart going up for 10 straight years in a row with prices going up. We are going to see a few years maybe with it descending. So the longer a seller waits, what happens? They lose more money. The house sells for less. So while they're thinking there's value in waiting, it turns out in a descending market that waiting is more costly than doing it now. And so it's kind of like bite the bullet, get the job done, take the hit, move on. And we have got examples over the years for us old timers that we've seen this happen where sellers have turned down a pretty good offer.
Oh, yeah.
Only to wake up 6 months later wishing they had that offer back on the table.
Yep.
So you have to be able to tell stories. And if you aren't old enough or have been around long enough, then talk with some of the old timers about what they experienced so you can develop your own story. You can talk about things that happened 15, 20 years ago, even if you're 21 or 22 years old. I mean, it happens all the time. People need to study what happens so that you can share these stories with people that are double and triple your age. And again, I don't want to digress here too far, but let me just tell you, when I started in real estate, I was 22 years old and I looked like I was 16. And so I wore a 3-piece suit, put a little chain going across, I mean, I did everything I could to try to look a couple of years older than I was so that somebody would take me seriously. But you know what, in the end, what allowed them to take me seriously was they could see in a very short order that I knew far more than they did about real estate. And when I started sharing stories, examples, historical information, they knew that I knew my stuff and that I eliminated the age thing through knowledge. And so you want to add anything to that, Paul?
Well, I think what you were getting at was you're sitting at the table, right? And you're trying to explain this to a seller. And coming from a market where we've gone through what was an extremely significant downturn, which was 2006 through 2011. Where, graphs were going like this every single month. And if we priced what it was worth today, we were overpriced. You actually had to price it lower than what it was worth today because, it wasn't going to sell for 2 to 3 months anyways. And so now you're overpriced. If you price the house right, you're overpriced. So, what helped in those situations was to stop being stop being the bearer of the bad news and sort of being the interpreter of what's on the horizon and showing them the data.
Great point.
And so I think what you said earlier, you can't own the marketplace. You don't own the marketplace, right? You and I can't control it. We can't influence it. What the value of your client's home is not up to us. And so what I would do is, and we'll produce this. I'll probably put this together today. Is a graph showing here's what happened to sales in 2020. Here's what happened in 2021. Here's what happened in 2022. And you really want to show how, this market was going like this for a while, but then look what happened as soon as like the Ukraine thing took place. Then we saw gas prices go crazy. And then we saw inflation numbers coming in. Then we saw interest rates go up. And you'll see there's a steep departure taking place from previous years. And that is what you're going to highlight when you talk to your clients. Say, look, you're right that we have been in some unprecedented times for the past probably, what is it, a 10, 11 years, Greg, unprecedented growth?
We had from 2006 to 2011, the graph went straight down every year.
Yep.
The price point dropped every year.
In 2012 to 2022
to today, it has done nothing
like this,
straight up.
Yeah. So what we're going to have to show them is this is where it changes right now. In August and September of 2022, the graph now it shifted and it's going like this. So I would show them that little divide and say, guys, this is where we currently are. And I don't know what this looks like in 4 months. I don't know what it looks like in 6 months. All I can tell you is what we have today. There's not enough history, and we don't know what the future holds. If we were in the middle of the recession that we were in 2006 or 2012, I could show you years of going down, and I could show you why there's no good news on the horizon, so we can safely guess we're going to keep going down. But in this marketplace, we don't know what the future holds right now. And so all you have is that chart. So I would live and die with that chart. And I would say, guys, I'm going to tell you what the chart's telling me. And we need to be mentally prepared for the chart to impact our transaction here. And then they might push back on you and say, well, Brian Bovin told me he could get me this much money. And then I would say, well, okay. And then I have to navigate that conversation, right, Greg? How do you navigate that one when another realtor tells them that the home is worth $60,000 more?
Well, I guess that, the old, it's always been an issue where somebody would buy the listing, right? And, so I've always felt that the key to the adapting into this moment is I'm going to tell them what I think, but I'm also going to do kind of a little soft shoe backtracking to say, look, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you what, I'm more than willing to work hard to help you get what you think this house is worth. But I also want to ask you, how long do you think it will take before we know if that price is too high? And by the way, what are the key points that are going to tell us if the price is too high? And we're going to know it, I think, within 2 weeks. So we could adjust 2 weeks down the road based on these two factors. Here they are. One is, how many showings did we get? I mean, if we only got one showing, think about it. We just pumped this listing out to 10,000 real estate agents who all have buyers. So it could have been 100,000 buyers have now seen your listing. Mm-hmm. They didn't come running. They didn't jump, over hillsides and through swamps to get to your house like they have been over the last 5 years or longer. And so if we don't get a bunch of showings, then I think we probably missed the mark, because the public is looking at the house, they're looking at the data, and they're going, nah, there's not enough here to make me get out of my chair and drive over to your place tonight to look at that property. The second thing I think that's going on.
Real quickly on that one, Greg, while we're with that whole thing, during the previous Great Recession we were in, and I'm not right, none of us are comparing the Great Recession with the stock market collapse to today. We're just saying that there's obviously something going on. We saw a 22% drop in sales between the two Septembers, right? So that's a pretty significant number of sales differences there. Yep. But remember when during the previous recession, we were selling some condo developments, and we would sit there, we'd be holding wine and cheese parties. We'd be giving away pumpkins. We'd be having a petting zoo, and I couldn't get a single person to an open house.
Yeah. No matter.
It's just interesting sometimes and I'm just talking about the strength of the market. You have to be aware of what the market is saying and needing.
The sellers, by the way, if you are fortunate and they list their home with you and you're not getting any activity, if you don't have this discussion up front with them, they're going to call you and say, what are you going to do for me to make something happen? And what that means, the code words they're sending you is, where are you going to spend money on my overpriced listing to prove your point? And so, I sit here and I go, all right, so I want to get this out on the table first. Can we agree that if we don't get any showings, or if we get very few showings, we probably have missed the mark. Would you agree?
Maybe we should consider adapting.
Secondly,
come on,
if we don't get any offers. I mean, if we don't get any offers, what does that say about our price? I mean, with the internet today and what we're doing and making it available to thousands of real estate agents who all have buyers, who are all
one of the things that I would do back then, Greg, when we would have this situation where we'd have a listing sitting there, I would say, let's print off, we listed your property on September 1. Let's see what sold since September 1 in your price range. So I print out all the solds and all the pendings, because listen, there's not so many listings out there that I'm missing a listing if I'm a buyer, right? Like I'm scouring the websites every single day looking for the right home for me myself while I'm watching, TV in the evening. I'm looking online at houses as well. So I would print them and I'd say, why did they choose these 15 homes that sold in your area, in your price point over your home? And let's use really honest eyes here. We're looking at this. Could it be location? Could it be condition? Could it be price?
We can talk about more of that, but I want to keep rolling here.
Keep rolling.
So you've got these two things that you have to get on the table. You do not own the pricing. The pricing is the market. Mm-hmm. And so you cannot walk in, butt first, backing in. You have to be able to sit there and knowledgeably tell them about the market. So a couple other things that we're seeing here. I had an experienced agent call me the other day. This was kind of funny. And, he says, hey, Greg, I got this offer and it's got this thing in it called a first right of refusal. And I said, really? And so somebody wrote an offer with a first right of refusal. Can you imagine writing that over the past 5 years? You would have been tossed out. You would have lost. All we saw the past 5 years was escalation clauses, removing contingencies, appraisal guarantees. Well, now we're going to see things like contingent offers, first right of refusal offers. But here's the key on a first right of refusal that I want to get out to everybody right now in the real estate community.
Yep.
If you and your seller accept a first right of refusal, the other agent's going to say, hey, well, you can still keep moving. Here's the problem. The real estate board associations have a rule, and it says, if you have a first right of refusal, and I believe this is in most of them, it may not be in everyone. You need to know which association you're in. Check this out. But in most associations, a first right of refusal means that if a buyer with cash shows up today, they can't buy the house, right? Mm-hmm. Because they got to sit and wait for 48 hours. The real estate industry has said the house is not really for sale if it has a first right of refusal. So they will not allow you to keep it active on the market if you allow your sellers to accept the first right of refusal. You can take a contingent offer and say the home will remain on the market. And
we have there's some discrepancies there on how those types of things are handled. Like, for example, in many of the markets, we were just talking about this in the Muskegon Happy Hour last week. This is kind of an aside here, but in many markets, if you have a pending, if you've accepted a contingent offer, Greg, you either have to be pending, like in most markets, in order to be considered active contingent, I need to be able to write an offer on your active contingent listing, and that you can accept my offer and blow your other offer away immediately. Now, up in the mom board in Ludington area, they don't have it's like anything goes. So,
so you can write it in.
Yeah.
You can write it in. So anyway, I want to quickly hit on something else. The market's changing. Not everybody's going to have a ton of money to invest in marketing. And so we saw something here the other day that said, so let's say you have $500 to invest in your marketing plan right now. So we're hopeful that you can at least scrape up $500. And so they asked a number of agents where they would spend $500. And I'm just going to run through this real quickly. Facebook ads, I'd spend it on adding landing pages to my website to enhance lead capture, old customers, referrals, going back to the basics. I would get 50 $10 gift cards and send them out to my top 50 most likely sphere to refer clients. Somebody else says the first expenditures should relate to past clients. and current listings. Another one says, I would find a way to give some little gifts to the top client referral, video, Facebook and Google marketing, email marketing. And so, I mean, a lot of this stuff you can Google and, and just say, hey, what would you do if you had $500 or $1,000 and you were a real estate agent and to generate?
You know what else you can do along with that? Check out our 30-day challenges on the educational website. We had 65 agents submit what they would do to build a business and get buyers under contract or sellers under contract in 30 days or less.
Excellent.
So I mean, in addition.
The other thing too is that I want to highly recommend, if you have never been to RPR, this is owned by the National Association of Realtors, which means you. And it's free, it's included. And there are some incredible things in there on pricing properties, pricing presentations, marketing presentations. To me, it's probably when I sit around and I go, what has the NAR done recently for me? And a lot of times I can't think of much, but I am absolutely stunned at the value prop of the RPR, and it's available to every agent who's a member of an association. And it should be easy, and you should be given a password and a code. If you don't have one, I'm sure you can get one. But so there's that.
And while we're on that really quickly here too, I just spoke with Tom Holubowski, who is one of the directors at NAR RPR. We were emailing yesterday. We're going to be setting up another training session to have their team run us through some of the great features inside of NAR RPR. One of my favorite features, and again, this is an aside, but it's a really, really great feature. You can actually search for properties based upon taxable value. So let's say a home is never sold and you're trying to find off-market properties. You're trying to find a mailing list. You want to generate a mailing list around a lake, but these homes haven't sold in a while or whatever, and you want to figure out values. So you're looking for $1 million homes on the lake. You can go there and you can change the source from MLS data to taxable data, and you can pull mailing lists based upon search records. So if, let's say, a home has a $1 million taxable value, you can estimate it's around a $2 million home. So you could say, I want to see $2 million properties on Lake Michigan from here to here, and it'll pull up all the tax records with homes that fit that bill based upon their tax records. And then you can get the taxable mailing address. That's the owner, by the way, because it could be a rental. So anyways, I'm just kind of pointing things out. There's some really cool, neat features in there that go way beyond what a local MLS can do.
All right, last item, and then we'll call it quits here. We have been working for quite a while here to looking at some what we would call ancillary services to add opportunity and dollars to the bottom line, both for the company and agents. And right now, of course, we've had Star Title for almost 21 years, of which, we have invited over 100 agents into becoming members and shareholders in Star Title. I think we're the only brokerage that I'm aware of in Michigan that does this. And we've made the agents partners, not of a JV off to the side, but of the real title company. So secondly, what we're doing right now is we have just completed and been approved and certified now to become a mortgage lender. We've created a name. The name is called Big Lake Lending. And we are in the process. I think next week we have our new loan officer will be coming into town to do some meetings.
Yep, his name's Luke.
Name's Luke. And we understand right now that we are in a very price sensitive time with rates going up. And so our focus in this mortgage company is going to be, how do we keep our costs down so that we can pass some of the dollars through and help buyers with hopefully some of the most competitive rates available out there. And we're hoping that all of you would at least be willing to give it a look, give a call, see if this is something that might work for your buyer.
Yeah, and we're going to announce a series of like breakfasts and maybe like a happy hour next week. We're going to be in for sure Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Muskegon area. And we're going to be doing like just a hangout. You'll get to meet Luke. He'll be here. But like Greg said, we're looking for ways to be able to create different additional revenue resources, because as the market ebbs and flows and as markets go up and markets go down, we're always looking for things to even out the peaks and the valleys, because we've been through some valleys and they can be really tough. And so we're always looking for ways to lessen those valleys so we can keep focused here, keep our teams moving. These ancillary services, like the Star Title is the biggest one that you guys would all be aware of, but that company has really helped us weather many storms. When we've had really, really tough times, Star Title was there able to help subsidize, help keep all of our staff going, help keep our fees low. Those are the kind of things that we're trying to accomplish with these companies. And that's really the impetus for us going down that road.
So what you're saying, just to make it really clear, your support of any of these what we would call ancillary businesses, whether it be Star Title or now Big
Sister
Lake
companies. Yep.
It lessens the need for us at 5-Star to want to push cost up to the agents. So we are busting our chops to keep these fees in check. And why? So that the agents can keep more money, which creates more choice for the agents. And so we are believers in that if we are able to help provide the support levels and the staff and the people that we can provide to create an excellent company with excellent support, excellent service, then that's what we are about. And so I don't want to be bashful about, some of this is profit and goes to the bottom line for us. But at the same time, I can tell you that as a company, when we talk with new agents and they talk to their brokers, it must be the question the brokers ask them is, well, can you explain to me how 5-Star is able to make it on so little amount of money compared to what my broker is taking? And the answer is, if you really look at it, well, we are making less in the real estate company, but we're able to make it up a little bit because of the ancillary businesses, which make us profitable. And what you want ultimately is a profitable broker, so that the right decisions are being made, not the decisions being made in a panic or decisions being made because the bad news is on the horizon.
Yep. And I think at the end of the day, in this business, you guys are all able to support whomever you want to support. You can work with whatever lender and title company you want, which is great. But we would love to at least be on the table for consideration. We'd like to earn your business. That's the goal. And we want to show you that we can do a really good job with it. So I think that kind of wraps it up for today though, Greg, and we'll get some information out here about these little happy hours that are going to happen next week. And we'd love to have you guys come out. Greg and I'll be hanging out. We'll have some good breakfast foods or whatever time of day we're meeting. We'll make sure there's some good stuff there, and look forward to seeing everybody. But I think we'll be back again here in 2 weeks, Greg, to talk about adapting again. Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Well, hey, have a good week, guys. And if you needed a little bit of help here adapting, reach out to me, Greg, our broker support team, and we're here for you. So, all right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Adios.